Hello everyone, Catherine Locke here, Warhorse Miniatures, and this video we have a 28mm Reaper miniature. This is the Sylph, and I have 3 layers of earth pigments on her, the clay brown, the same color that I used on Medusa's Gaze, each sealed lightly. I wanted to do the sheer clothing technique with her. And you can see I have a new brand of pigment that I wanted to try out, and as you can see I'm having some trouble with it here. I've tried a brush, I've tried 2 different color shapers in an effort to get the pigment to stick. Sometimes when you're working with different colors, you'll find it just isn't going to work for you. The pigment doesn't do what you need it to do. It's not going to build up like you need it to build up. So sometimes you just got to cut your losses. I ended up wiping off the miniature, and that's all you have to do before you seal. You know, make sure you got everything the way you want it and then seal. But because I didn't seal, I was just able to wipe it off. And so I went with the iridescent colors of the Jacquard Pearl Ex dry pigments. And normally you use these on black painted base, but with the sheer technique we can make the iridescence look really nice. I started off with the interference blue, but with the iridescence, especially the interference colors, they only reflect light when you have them at a certain angle. So it gets kind of tricky because I am not seeing what you're seeing. I have to turn the miniature at different angles because sometimes it'll look like it's not going on at all, and then I shift the miniature slightly and wow, there's the color. So it can get a little bit tricky sometimes, and you'll need to pay attention if you use the interference colors especially. Whenever you're working with the metallic pigments, you see how I have a paper towel down underneath her. You're going to want to stop and clean that off. I fold the paper towel up, and when I get too much pigment dropping onto the towel, I clean it up and then refold the towel so I have a fresh piece. So with the metallics, you're going to want to definitely keep your work area clean because even working with the color shapers, it does have a tendency to get all over the place. But I had to switch up my color shapers just a little bit. The softer, larger color shaper did a lot better with this than the smaller, mini, more dense, extra firm clay shapers. But first, what I'm doing here is I'm taking some pearl, which is basically white, and it is iridescent like the interference blue, but I'm using that for more of a highlight color after smoothing out the interference blue. Right here though, you can see I'm applying some black paint. This is where the clothing is, part of her robe is away from her, and this is the trick of sheer clothing. It looks totally different when it's not against the body. I encourage you, before you attempt to do sheer clothing in any, using acrylics or pigments in any technique, to get look up some pictures on the internet, because sheer clothing does not behave like we think it would when it comes to color. The farther away from the body it is, the darker or more dense the color appears. When it's stretched tight over flesh is when you can see the flesh tone underneath. So basically I'm just going through and applying a very, very thin coat of black to certain areas where I need the sheer clothing darker and more dense, and where it is away from the body. Before I seal, I want to make sure I have the area clean where I do not want pigment. So I'm using the pointed Q-tip to help take any excess off. It also helps me smooth the colors out into the creases of her clothing, and only after that will I be able to seal. Now, after I sealed, I had to wait for it to dry, so in the meantime, I'm putting a thin black coat of paint on the wings, because I'm going to do the wings in metallics as well. And they show up a lot better when you have a black base. As always, thanks for watching. If you have not yet done so, please like or subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments. So stay tuned, we're not quite done yet.